Hello, welcome back to Behind the Blog. This is Lindsay here with you from Sonar Software. Very excited to have Georgette Lopez-Aguado back with us today, our Senior Director of Client Experience. Today, Georgette and I are going to be digging into a little bit of mergers and acquisitions. So welcome back to the show.
Glad to be here, Lindsay. Thank you so much.
You are always one of my favorite guests.
Just because we could talk forever about any number of things.
This is true. One day we should just turn the mics on and just go and just see what happens. So I wanted to talk today a little bit about mergers and acquisitions. Inside of the broadband industry right now, we're seeing a lot of this happening. And you wrote a great blog post about it. So I wanted to dig into it a little bit more. I'm going to kind of kick it off with you talked about clear communication being the cornerstone of a successful transition. So can you share some of the specific examples of how ISPs can, effectively inform customers about the benefits of their merger or acquisition?
I think there's lots of different strategies that customers are using to get the word out about a merger or the acquisition of another partner into their ecosystem. I've been around the industry for a number of years now, and I've never seen so much transition as what we're seeing right now. You're seeing smaller operators joining forces with other smaller operators. You're seeing mid-tiers folding into enterprise level accounts. And they all represent unique challenges because at the heart of it, many of the ISPs are the local provider. You know the person that you've been doing business with, and there's always going to be a sense of fear when a new brand rolls out, when a new ownership group comes in. How is it going to affect me as the customer? So having transparent and clear communication, once it is public knowledge, I think is going to be the key element for a successful transition for the customers that the ISPs have.
Now, are there specific ways of getting this message out? What are some of the distribution channels that you would recommend people use?
It could be that they send out a mass email to the impacted accounts. It could be a slow roll on using blended branding on a website or a customer portal, so that maybe for 3 months after the transition, it's got both logos. And then you get to a point where you remove the old logo and the customers feel comfortable with this. I've also seen it be very important for customers, as I mentioned with triggered emails, is making sure that you're inspiring confidence with the new communication. So are they seeing the blended logo on your triggered emails, your mass emails, or even on the invoice, so they understand this isn't spam. This isn't something dangerous. This isn't somebody that's trying to fish, because you have more challenges than just building up your brand. You have the challenges of people not liking change. Nobody likes change. So they don't want to click that link. They don't want to update their credit card information. They don't want to do the things that will help make that transition as easy as possible for your team. So you really have to slow roll and build that confidence.
Hand holding, right?
Providing screenshots, providing direct line by line. This is what you need to do to update your username, password if you've got a new customer portal. Maybe this is what you need to do to update your credit card information. By the way, these are the benefits that you will see as part of this. We've got expanded service offerings. We've got an extra hour of customer support. We are offering online chatbot, whatever it is that the benefit is going to be to that individual. You don't know, and not everyone's going to be able to benefit from each item, but if you give them several different options that makes their life a little bit easier, they're going to embrace the change more readily.
No, that's great advice. And, another piece of this, I think, would be monitoring of social media and, seeing what the chatter is. So how can ISPs really kind of manage, positive and negative sentiments that they may be seeing to ensure their reputation remains intact during the transition?
I think it starts with making a clear public service announcement. I think you work with your local newspaper or news outlets go and do an interview. Talk about what this merger and acquisition means. I mean, there was a reason why these two companies came together. And whether it's I'm ready to retire, because we are seeing some of that. We're seeing people who've been operators in the space for 10, 15, 20 years, and they're ready to retire and pass that over to new ownership, new leadership. We're seeing that it just makes good economic sense to join forces together for the economy of scale so that they can provide better solutions to their local communities. And then we're seeing acquisitions happen because of funding, whether it's private equity money, whether it's government funding, whether it's private investments, not necessarily PE, but private investments, people wanting to pool their monies to grow bigger, stronger, faster together, and all rowing in the same direction. So leverage the tools that have worked for you. Social media is going to be huge. Try and be patient. People are scared. Scared. That really is a thing. They're scared about their internet because internet is an essential service now. Don't mess with my water. Don't mess with my electricity. Don't mess with my internet. I need these things to operate my day-to-day business, life, my family, my school, my work. So be transparent and know that you're going to have questions that need to be answered. Prepare your staff by doing some scripting so they know how to respond with a clear and consistent message. It doesn't have to be a robot response, but give them some different options to anticipate the objections somebody might have about a non-known provider coming into the local community or into the footprint of your ISP.
Yeah, and I want to pull the thread a little bit on, the support aspect for ISPs in this merger and acquisition world. So you talked a little bit about the importance of having dedicated support channels. So what are some of the resources and assistance that ISPs should consider providing just to reassure their customers?
An FAQ on the website. It can be attached as a PDF to their invoices. It could be a script for those customer support people. It's people want answers and they want to be able to have fingertip access to those answers. So making sure it's easy for them to obtain that information. That could be a mass email with an attachment. Hey, here's the high level background. Here are the most frequently asked questions about what this transition is going to mean to you. And closing that message with we are all here to work together and to make this transition as smooth as possible. I do think it's worth noting that when you're talking about your support team, your billing team, your field technicians, all of your staff are going to feel the impact of the transition as well. So while I've really been focusing on your customers, it's important to talk to your staff as well. What concerns do they have? Are their benefits going to be different? Are there is there going to be new management coming in? Everyone has fears about their own longevity with their company, especially if it's a company that they've helped to raise up, if you will. And while every company is going to make their own decisions, transparency counts. It helps make the transition easier. And it may be that new personnel will breathe new life into an organization, but be careful not to throw the baby out with the bathwater in terms of tribal knowledge, if you will.
No, that's really great advice. I mean, the people are really the heartbeat of your organization and the culture there, and bringing two cultures together, they may be, very different. So great advice there for folks who are going to have to learn how to navigate some of those waters. So let's dig into communication channels. So what are some of the most important platforms for reaching different customer segments? Because you've got a lot of different types of customers. So what's your advice there?
I think you have to whiteboard this. I think SMS text messaging, if you have that capability in your ISP, is a great tool. Because they know the number it's coming from, it is a connected tie for them. Your emails, whether it's a mass email or a triggered email, that invoice that they're used to receiving. If you do printed emails, do you attach a PDF do you print a PDF and stuff it? What about your door hangers? When you're doing a successful installation, are you rebranding on those door hangers? What about your truck signage? Soon to be ... more coming. There's so many different ways that you can create excitement and interest in the transition rather than just rip and replace. And all of a sudden we were this on Friday, and we're this on Monday. Be transparent. It helps. It really does help.
Yeah, I think transparency is key. I agree with you 100% on that one. So kind of coming back around, thinking about the entire conversation of mergers and acquisitions. In your experience, what are the biggest challenges that ISPs face when preparing their customers for these merger and acquisition transitions, and how can they really overcome them?
I think the biggest challenges really are internal. It's the data sets. It's the how do you streamline if you're bringing in a company that's on a disparate OSS BSS solution, if their processes on installations, on billing disputes, on how you process a churned account, how you do intake for a new customer. It's getting to level setting on this is what good looks like in this new model, and getting buy-in from your staff and making sure that people feel confident and competent using whatever the system of choice is going to be moving forward.
No, that's great. And I'd love to dig into a bonus question here. So can you think of and tell us about a particularly challenging merger and acquisition transition that you've witnessed, and how the involved companies were able to successfully navigate this process?
I think there's different levels of difficulty. Some is this a small operator in a very rural community, and the acquiring company may be seen as being a big fish, an out-of-towner, an unknown. And it was really difficult for the smaller ISP to leverage buy-in. And they're like, well, we're not going to go where you want us to go. We're going to, don't tell us who our new provider is going to be. We're going to go out and look for something else, because there may be other options in the area as well. I also think it's during the whole process. It doesn't happen overnight. It's a lengthy process, right? So there's fatigue by the time you get to the actual transition for your staff that knew what was coming down the pipe, and then there's trepidation with the staff that were sort of kept in the dark because they didn't need to know until they needed to know. So building that bridge back again with your staff, and then making sure that your customers are aware that you made the best business decision for the community, I think is going to be terribly, terribly important. Data is the hard part. Getting the data clean. Some operators still work off of QuickBooks or free systems, and they're looking at 6 different platforms of data, and getting a single pane of visibility is so important to help minimize the impact across your ecosystem.
Yeah, and I've heard you say it many times before, like you've never seen this many mergers and acquisitions. It's unprecedented in the industry right now. So
and I don't think it's going to slow down.
No, I don't think so either. I think that this is a trend that we're going to see for a while to come. But are there any final thoughts or additional advice to ISPs that you'd like to share with the audience about just ensuring this seamless transition during a merger and acquisition?
I would say reach out to your partner companies when the time is appropriate. How can Sonar help you? How can your the people that your vendors help you through this transition? Because we are all seeing this across the ecosystems, and you can learn. We can share not detailed information, but we can share experiences that might help get you over that bump easier than just going through blindly. If this is your first experience with a merger, or your first experience acquiring a company to grow. I've been on both sides of the house, personally and professionally. I've been on both sides of the house with both an acquisition and then with a merge. So it's an interesting time. It's important to be ready for the marathon, not the sprint, because you will feel the impacts for weeks and months to come. And it's okay. It's okay. Talk to people who've been through it before, level set, and then know that you're doing the right thing for your organization and for your customers.
That's all fantastic advice. As always, you're such a wealth of knowledge. I know you've been in this industry for quite a while, and you're definitely a mentor to me in learning more about the industry. So I always feel like I get a little bit more every time we talk. So I thank you for that, and I thank you for coming on the show and sharing a little bit more about that blog post that you wrote. And Georgette, is there any way that people can connect with you to ask questions?
Connect with me on LinkedIn or shoot me an email, Georgette@sonar.software.
Amazing. Well, thank you again so much for joining us.
Thank you.